What the presentation and discussion, which is going to occur now, will be for most of you one of the most important things in your lives. Because we are at a point not of an ordinary crisis, not of a financial crisis, not of a mere depression, but of a global breakdown crisis centered in the transatlantic community, especially the English-speaking transatlantic community, which will radiate, if it's not stopped, to bring every part of the world into a general breakdown of their respective social systems. This is one of the greatest moments in terms of importance in history since the 14th century in Europe, with this new Dark Age. And since similar events like the collapse of the Roman Empire or the collapse of the Byzantine Empire. This is the kind of period we're living in. And the danger from this crisis is greater than probably any of the precedents other than the collapse of the Roman Empire itself. This is momentarily a collapse. Each day now, since January 3rd, the crisis has been expanding in magnitude at an accelerating rate. What you think is the extent of the crisis today is the measures I propose are not taken will become much worse by an order of magnitude on the next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, until the whole system grinds into a collapse, probably sometime during this year. And I'm talking about a global collapse, not a collapse just of the transatlantic English-speaking community. But the thing is centered, obviously, in the transatlantic English-speaking community. That's where the source of the infection spreads. We also have to deal with another problem, apart from an economic problem, a problem of idiocy, which permeates the highest ranks of the Senate and other locations, and among all so-called leading economists today. There are a few exceptions here and there. But on this question of this crisis, except for a few people in the woodwork that I know about, there is no public expression of any comprehension of what this crisis is about or any comprehension of what the remedies are. Now, let me say on that point specifically that the primary crisis before us immediately is twofold. On the one hand, it's an international monetary financial crisis in which the collapse of the entire world international monetary system could be completed within a time as early as this year, and even sometime earlier in this year, because that's the way human events are. We cannot predict the day in which that collapse would occur, but the collapse is already ongoing. And none of the governments in existence today have any efficient comprehension of adopting measures which would actually deal with this crisis. The crisis is manageable. It's not simply solvable. You cannot simply turn back the clock and get good times back again, where you had them before. But you can bring the thing under control. And the problem I wish to address today, specifically, is the measures of control which the government of the United States and other governments must take now if they're going to save civilization. This is doom time. And often in human history, it was possible up to a certain point to prevent a civilization from disintegrating into chaos. We're in such a situation now. But if we don't take the measures, this civilization will collapse into chaos this year. If we understand these measures and are willing to take them, we can manage the crisis through cooperation among nations which agree on certain principles. That's always been possible. But if we do not do that, we are living at the brink of one of the great dark ages in all human existence. So this is big time. This is not small time. We also have a big problem of a bankruptcy of ideas and mentality among a dominant section of our culture. the more influential part of our upper 20% of family income brackets are crazy and corrupt. So therefore, the problem is that some of the people, including in the major press, major publications, mass media generally, and so forth, on this question are either outrightly lying or incapable of telling the truth because they couldn't know where to find it. And they are the most influential voices you hear all so far from the U.S. Senate, from leaders of the House of Representatives, not all leaders, but the ones who are the most vocal and most reported, and from most presidential candidates. They are all, by my book, idiots, and worse, because their opinions are worse than worthless. If their opinions were to prevail, the whole country will go to hell. That I can guarantee you. This is not as easy as what Franklin Roosevelt faced with the Great Depression. This is a much tougher problem, much more dangerous, deeper corruption than that. And so the precedents in that period, while valuable to us today as lessons, are not a prescription by imitation for solving this problem. The greatest problem we have is the incumbent President of the United States and the number of idiots, both Democratic and Republican, in the Congress, including the Senate, who think like they do.